Hello again, I am Jim Bob, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this special mod spotlight. Today a whole load of mods went live when we were only expecting maybe just one of them to go live. So a real bonanza for mods today. And today we're going to be looking at the Biobeltz IT runner truck. So first off, to find it, it's here in trucks. And here it is, the Biobeltz ITR 480. So this costs $128,995. It is available in a vast choice of colours. We will go with, let's go with red. Go with a nice understated red. And there it is. There is our brand new Hooklift truck that we have been waiting for and hoping for a very long time. You know, console users have been crying out for one of these for months and months and months. You know, we've had no end of these being made available in some form or fashion on PC. Finally, we have one on console, and I have to say, it's pretty damn good. I mean, there are a couple of little niggles for me personally with it, but apart from that, I absolutely love this. So let's take a look at it visually, and it's very nicely laid out as a very interesting style. I'm not entirely sure what this is here for. I get the feeling this might be for some kind of front attachment. I haven't quite played around enough with it yet to figure out if that is actually an attacher for something yet, but I think it might be. If we move around the side, one thing you will notice, and you might not notice it straight away, but you will notice it eventually, is that the rear of the truck actually sits higher than the front of the truck, and it does this regardless of what it's loaded with as a trailer. I'm not entirely sure whether this is something that's deliberate or whether it's a scaling issue that hasn't quite worked properly for console, but that is just the way it looks. And you can actually see as well that the rear tires are sitting pretty flat and flush against the ground, whereas the front tires are dipping into the ground slightly. So that might be the reason why it does sit slightly at an angle, because the front tires are disappearing into the ground ever so slightly. That would be my guess as to the reason why it's doing that. If we move around the back as well, we have a rear attacher here, although you can't really make out the details on it because there is a texture issue with this. Whenever we see a mod that has a texture issue where something hasn't quite loaded in properly, or a color won't load in properly, we get this all-consuming black that just eats up any visual detail at all. You can't see any highlights or blending of any kind. It's just a shape with no color on it whatsoever, and that is the case here with this rear attacher, but it works absolutely fine. It just doesn't have the right color loaded into it, so I expect maybe that might get patched slightly in the future. Again, I think this is probably more of a bigger issue, is the fact that the truck does kind of sink forward a little bit. If we jump inside, it's quite a basic cabin, I have to say. I mean, we have this kind of button layout here underneath the control console with a very small stereo like that, and it looks nice, but it looks a little bit unfunctional. If we compare it to, say, an in-game truck, let's just lease a man truck and compare the interiors. We jump in this one, you can see in here the interior is incredibly highly detailed. Obviously this is an in-game asset, this is something that Giants themselves have done, so you would expect it to look very, very good. But when you compare the difference between in here and in here, it's staggering just how much of a difference there is. Our center console here, our little dashboard, that does actually work, so the fuel gauge will read, and you'll see it jump to full there the second we turn the engine on, and the speedo does work as well, but it's an analog speedo, no digital readout on that. Nothing else works in terms of the interior. There's no buttons that light up, there's no, if we extend the hook, there's no display that lights up to say that the hook is in motion. So a pretty sparse interior and pretty low res in places as well. Really, really blurry on these seats and on the flooring as well. But these are little minor niggles. I mean, visually, you're not necessarily going to spend a huge amount of time in the cockpit. You're going to probably if you're like me, going to spend the majority of the time in this view. And everything else about this works absolutely fine. We do have lights. We just have a single stage of lights. So you switch them on or you switch them off. There's no full beam and low beam. It's just on or off. We do have indicators that work, and we have them two at the rear here on the rear bar and on the rear lights, and just a single display on the front. And both sides work absolutely fine, as you can see. We also have working hazards. And a working horn as well. So, there is our truck. So what can we actually hook up to this? Well, anything that is an IT runner piece of equipment. So let's just get rid of the man truck. And let's look at the IT runner equipment that is available. So we can use the skip, a grain container, a wood container, a bale container, the slurry container. I believe there are also, if I remember rightly, it's been a while since I've used the IT runner pack. There is also a couple of others. So I think there's is there a manure attachment? I think there might have been. Yes, there's a manure attachment from FarmTech that can also be used. And I think there might be one other as well, but I'm trying to remember off the top of my head exactly what that is. But any of these attachments can be used. So let's just grab a grain trailer as an example. And we'll match the colour. We'll go with red. So it works just the same as any IT runner piece of equipment. You know, the IT runner trailer that we have available to us from the Giants mod pack works in exactly the same way. The Hooklift will extend, meet up with our container, like so, hook on, and then we can just pull it straight onto the truck. And one of the great things I've found is that because the truck is quite heavy, when we actually lower a truck down or lower something like this, it doesn't push the vehicle around because the truck has more weight. So you see a little bump as it connects with the ground, but then the rollers actually kick in. One thing I noticed with the IT runner pack was if this was on a trailer, it would tend to lift the rear of the tractor up when it was connected to a tractor, and could sometimes cause it to spin a little bit, or the it wouldn't go back at a straight angle. It would start to pivot off because there was too much weight pushing down and not enough weight to hold it in place. So it would send it off at a weird angle. You don't have that issue with that truck because it's a nice heavy piece of equipment, which is really, really nice. Now, one other thing we can do is, as I did say, there is a back attacher. We can connect it to an IT runner trailer as well. So now, if you wanted to, and this is the main reason I think why a lot of people have wanted an IT runner truck, you can actually have two IT runners built into one single unit like that. Not so much useful for grain given the options we have with trailers now, but where I think this setup is going to be extremely useful is with wood. So given that we have Smoky Mountain logging that's just come out, I think the potential for this to be a logging rig is incredible. If we had a logging trailer on the front where we have this grain container, and then we put a logging trailer on the back as well, all of a sudden we've got the ability to transport a lot of logs loaded on two separate trailers that both work independently of each other, as you can see. And look how many logs we could effectively carry if we had a double log setup. This is where I think this unit will absolutely shine. Being able to run up and down those mountain roads on Smoky Mountain logging with logs on the front and logs on the back like this as well. They can be picked up from separate locations, so you can have two separate logging teams working away, send one truck up and collect both sets of logs without any real hassle. And because it's set up like this, it's quite weighty as well, so you should have less of an issue with tipping or rolling if you go around a corner a little bit too fast. Now, as I said, the front does seem to dip into the ground ever so slightly at times, so the truck doesn't sit completely flush with the ground. You can see if I move in a straight line, the white dot will end up above the main frame there, whereas it starts below at the back of the truck. And because of that, it lifts up the second IT runner truck, because I think they're too high for this. Now, it might be more suitable for other trailers, but as an IT runner setup, this, I think, not necessarily with these containers, but this loadout is exactly what people have been waiting for, the ability to have a Hooklift truck pulling a Hooklift trailer. So it's a really, really nice setup. Everything about it works really, really well. There are a couple of little visual glitches and a couple of little niggles on my part, but other than that, I think this is a fantastic mod, and I think a lot of people are going to absolutely love this. So don't hang about. Go download it for yourself. Give it a try. Let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know how you plan to use this new Hooklift. Are you going to run it as a double setup like this? Are you going to use it as a logging transport on Smoky Mountain? Are you going to use it to carry manure around from one part of a field to another, so that you've got somewhere, or slurry, that you've got somewhere you can go and drop off supplies for your vehicles that are working on fields? You can drop off a slurry top-up tank on one field where someone is fertilizing away. You can do the same with manure. There's all sorts of things that you could actually use this for. Really, really clever little applications. How do you plan on using it? Let me know in the comments. So there we go. That is the Biobeltz ITR 480. A fantastic little Hooklift truck. Thanks for watching. I am Jubbob, and I will catch you back on the channel very soon.